So look, any minute now I'm going to be joined by Gavin Gallagher of EastPoint if it all goes to plan. So massive thanks to John and myself. I was going to do the interview outside. The weather's not quite as good as yesterday. So Gavin's from EastPointDublin, which is an office park of over 40 acres, 9,000 employees on site at full capacity, 50 plus companies. So based in Dublin, as I say, Gavin presented at a commercial property summit, and really delighted to have Gavin on board this afternoon. So I'm going to invite Gavin to afternoon. So hopefully any minute now Gavin will be joining myself. Depends on what. Gavin, massive thanks. Can you hear me?
I hear you fine. Thanks, Brendan.
Okay, so look, massive thanks for joining myself. As I said, EastPointDublin is an office park, 40 acres, about 40 acres, 9,000 employees at its peak, and 50 plus companies. Some of them are tech companies, and I've noticed your post in the last few days. So Gavin's going to be on a panel on Monday morning, this coming Monday, which is focused on the future of the office sector. And I noticed one thing which you've done in the last, I think, 24, 48 hours is the thermometers. So do you want to just explain to the listeners about your COVID-19, what you've done to prepare the office when people come back to work?
Yeah, well, what we've, I mean, there's a huge amount of work goes into all of this stuff because, these are multinationals that we're dealing with. So when you're dealing with all these multinationals, they're looking for reports and operational protocols and all this kind of thing. So we've brought in consultants to help us with all that. But the simple bit of technology that we brought in, which is kind of I guess you could call it a confidence building measure, is we've put in these camera thermometers that when you walk into the building, it's on a stand at head height, and you just walk up to it and it immediately turns green and says, yes, your temperature's okay, carry on. And so that is something that we just installed yesterday, and they're very effective. They give you in about 3 minutes, or no, in less than a second, in about 0.3 of a second, they give you the correct temperature. I'm going to pop over there.
Gavin, I was going to say you did raise one question mark though on your post, which was GDPR. So,
well, I'll tell you why that was because we have the units that we've bought have two functions. One is temperature, and the other is facial recognition. And if you have facial recognition in it, it means that the thing has actually stored faces, which is private information and data, and then you'd have it associated with a person's name, possibly your phone number and things like that. So that just adds that layer of complexity that you now have to make sure that is the unit completely safe? Where does the data get stored? And you have to have a privacy policy and all that kind of thing. So that aspect of it makes it just, we've decided not to turn on the facial recognition, at least for now, because we just don't want to have to explain to all of our tenants what exactly would happen to the, what would happen to the various items, to the data. And I'm just actually going to bring you in right now to the building. Do you want to go through?
It's actually sunnier in Dublin than London.
Yeah, well, it's just turned sunny. This morning was crap. Thanks. So, Brendan, I'm standing out here now, and I'll show you. Okay, let me rotate the camera here, and you can see. So that's it there, and it's it's on a metal stand, and you just walk up to it, and when I put my face in the picture, normal temperature pass. So pretty simple. And just in the space of that time, you just get a bit of reassurance that everything is okay, that your temperature is within a proper reasonable number. And there are various things that could create a slightly higher reading, such as if a lady is pregnant, and things like that, that can cause it to be slightly higher than would be typical. So you obviously have to be aware of false alarms and things like that. And if somebody comes in and has like cycled 10 kilometers and just got off their bike 2 minutes ago, they possibly are going to be reading higher than an average temperature. But it's just a confidence building measure as far as I'm concerned. Some of the more difficult stuff is we've been getting these plans drawn up for it's our COVID response plan, and what that requires us to do is we have to have individual one way in and one way out, and the building is not designed like that, so it's quite disruptive insofar as we have an entrance, we have a single entrance into the building, and so somebody can enter into the building through using that entrance. But when they're leaving the building, they have got to go out a rear fire escape. And you can see that is not the way the building was designed. Fire escapes tend to be pretty basic and utilitarian, and they haven't been designed for bringing clients into and things like that. So we're struggling with some of those things. I don't think people are going to be too happy about it. You have a lift that can only carry one occupant at a time. So you get into the lift, you go up to the second floor or whatever, and if it stops on the journey up, somebody can't get in, you have to sort of say, no, sorry, it's just me, and you keep going. So it's going to be pretty difficult to work. I mean, it can be done, but it's certainly not kind of your normal operating procedures that you would expect. So from that aspect, I'm curious about how long this will last for, because to me, it's just so impractical that I can't see it lasting for longer than, maybe 12 months or something, and then people will just be fed up with it.
That's amazing. You think it may even go up to 12 months?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just assuming that, if there was something like a vaccine discovered, obviously, then that's going to speed up that process. And I can't see a vaccine being possible prior to 12 months. But if somebody was to kind of, if somebody was to develop a building, and are they going to develop the building on the basis that it's got all of, two entrances, one for in, one for, it's just not going to happen. You're going to have to have these, things will have to return to normal, I can imagine, at some stage. And I wonder how airlines and things like that are going to work if, you've got 250 seats and only 30 people sitting in the plane.
Yeah, so these are all good questions. I was speaking to my hotel where I put my monthly events on, which is in London Bridge, and they were talking about the 2 meter distance. Yeah. Is that the same in Ireland, or is it a slightly different, 1.5 meters, 1 meter?
No, it's 2 meters, and that's kind of, I think, a pretty universal figure, and which is fine. We've put signage all around the place, but there are areas where, like, one of the issues that we have is that we have a staircase in each lobby of the building, but it's only one staircase. And what you have to do is, if somebody's using the lift, you say, okay, I'm going to take the stairs. You can take the stairs up, but you cannot take the stairs down, because that would mean that you could meet somebody on the way up as you're going down. So that means you have to go to the back of the building and you have to use a fire escape stairs. So it's really impractical. I mean, we're going to do it, obviously, because we're just doing our part, but you have to wonder how practical and how long this can kind of last before. I mean, we all got, after 9/11, nobody was getting on airplanes for, 6 months. And then people started to kind of resume normal kind of sensation, that they weren't afraid to travel anymore. And sure enough, within a few years, we're all traveling again. I remember that. I was actually on my honeymoon in Barbados the day that 9/11 happened, and when we were flying home, it was like a very different atmosphere. You know what I mean? The flight was kind of half empty, because a lot of people had cancelled trips and holidays, but people, the human spirit, I think, 12 months later, everyone's just back flying, and the world has adapted, and now we don't think twice about taking off our belt and putting our cosmetics into a little plastic bag. Before that, it was a free-for-all. You just walked through the airport and did whatever you wanted.
Look, I will catch up with you on Monday morning. As I say, the focus of the panel is the future of the office sector. So we're going to be both looking at office parks and also looking at co-working spaces as well, and the flexible space. Gavin, how can people reach out to you? You've got a podcast, I know. Do you want to just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I started a podcast called Behind the Facade, and it's up and running now. And I uploaded my 6th episode last night, so it's quite new, but it's all about the mental game and kind of mindset and behaviors that you need to build into your routines as a property investor. I've gone through my share of ups and downs in my career, and I've been through 2 recessions now, major recessions, and we're entering into our 3rd. And I feel that I'm prepared for my 3rd, but I imagine there's a few people that are about to experience their 1st. And so the idea is just to provide some guidance and a little bit of insight into what to expect and how to prepare for it. And so that's what so Behind the Facade is there. I've created a Facebook group called the same name and a page and stuff, so you can pick up you can comment and ask questions and look for specific topics to be covered in future episodes. I did a live Q&A yesterday actually on my Facebook page, or on my Facebook group, Behind the Facade community. So you should check it out. You should join, Brendan.
I definitely will, because I did see you mention it. Look, I will catch up with you on Monday morning, as I say, 9:40. I'm delighted we've got Will Stokes from CoSpace, CEO of CoSpace, got one of their partners at Lend World, formerly at Shawbrook, Karen Bennett. So those are some of the panelists. John Williams from the Instant Group as well. I don't know if you've heard of John. So he speaks at places like MIPIM. Massive thanks, Gavin, for taking time out. There's so many questions regarding the future of the office space, and it's great just to have a panel which is dedicated to that particular subject. So as I say, if people want to find out more about the event, you can go to my website, which is bequinevents.com/events. Thank you.